The hum of the engines was steady, almost like a lullaby, as passengers settled into the long night flight from New York to Los Angeles. Business travelers flipped open laptops, families tucked children beneath thin airline blankets, and tired souls leaned against windows, chasing a few hours of rest in the clouds. In row 12, seat A, Emily Harper slept with her head resting lightly against the window. To anyone glancing her way, she seemed ordinary, just another young woman in her early 30s, hair loosely tied back, a worn leather jacket draped across her shoulders. But beneath that calm exterior, Emily carried a weight that no one on the plane could see. She hadn't flown in almost 2 years. Not since the day everything in her life had changed. Emily had once been a pilot. Not a commercial one, but a skilled Air Force captain with years of training. Flying had been her passion, her identity, her entire purpose. But one fateful mission overseas ended in disaster. A mechanical failure. A crash landing. She survived, but 2 of her closest friends didn't. The guilt had nearly destroyed her. When she left the military, she vowed never to step inside a cockpit again. She told herself it was over, that chapter of her life closed forever. Tonight, though, she was just a passenger. And for the first time in months, she had drifted into a dreamless sleep, lulled by the endless horizon of stars outside the window. Until the voice came. "Ladies and gentlemen," the captain's calm baritone broke through the speakers, but something about it was off. Tense. Shaky. "If there is a licensed pilot on board, please press your call button immediately." The cabin stirred. Heads lifted. Confusion rippled like a wave. Passengers exchanged nervous glances, some whispering, others frozen in silence. A few call buttons pinged as doctors, thinking it might be a medical emergency, pressed them, but the flight attendants moved swiftly, explaining in hushed tones. Emily stirred awake, blinking groggily, until the words sank in. "A pilot. They need a pilot." Her chest tightened. She tried to push it away, convincing herself someone else would step forward. Surely, on a plane of 200 people, there had to be another pilot. A commercial one, even. She pulled her jacket tighter and willed her racing heart to settle. But then she caught sight of the lead flight attendant. A woman with sharp eyes but trembling hands, rushing down the aisle toward the galley, her face pale. Something was terribly wrong. Emily swallowed hard. Her instincts, the ones she thought she had buried, came alive again. She stood. "Excuse me," she said, her voice low but steady. "I'm a pilot." The flight attendant froze, then spun around with desperate relief. "Please, come with me." The cockpit. Emily stepped into the cockpit, and the scene before her was every pilot's nightmare. The captain, a man in his late 50s, was slumped in his seat, barely conscious. His co-pilot was trying to manage both controls and radio communications, sweat dripping down his forehead. Warning lights flashed on the console. The plane was still stable, but something was wrong with the autopilot system. The co-pilot turned, eyes wide. "Who are you?" "Emily Harper. Former Air Force captain. Qualified on multiple aircraft, but it's been a while." He didn't hesitate. "That's good enough. Take the right seat." Her legs trembled as she slid into the co-pilot's chair. The familiarity of the cockpit hit her like a tidal wave, the smell of heated electronics, the glow of instruments, the weight of responsibility. She hadn't touched controls in years, yet her hands remembered. Muscle memory hummed beneath her skin. "What's the situation?" she asked. "Captain's down, likely cardiac arrest. We're trying to divert, but autopilot's malfunctioning. I can't handle everything alone." Emily scanned the panel, her training kicking in. "Okay, breathe. We've got this. You focus on communication with ATC, I'll manage flight controls." Her hands wrapped around the yoke. The jet trembled under her touch, like a living thing in distress, but she steadied it. Her voice, firm and calm, filled the cockpit. "Let's keep this bird in the sky. The past returns." For the next 30 minutes, Emily guided the plane, adjusting altitude and course, helping the co-pilot stabilize their flight path. Passengers remained in the dark, but tension vibrated through the cabin. Flight attendants moved quietly, keeping calm smiles plastered on their faces while they whispered updates to each other. Inside, Emily fought her own storm. Every control she touched brought back memories of the crash she had survived, the alarms, the fire, the screams of her crew. The guilt that had chained her for 2 years whispered cruelly, "You'll fail them too. 200 lives, Emily. Don't you dare fail again." Her hands trembled. She nearly froze. But then she glanced sideways at the unconscious captain. At the young co-pilot, barely out of training, who was depending on her. At the lives behind her, mothers holding children, strangers with futures, families waiting at home. And she realized something profound. Flying wasn't just about her. It never had been. It was about responsibility. About service. About using the gift she had been given to protect others, even when it hurt. Especially when it hurt. Her breath steadied. Her hands firmed on the yoke. For the first time in years, she felt the familiar surge of purpose flood her veins. The landing. Air traffic control cleared them for an emergency landing at Denver International. The runway lights stretched ahead like a glowing lifeline. The co-pilot's voice shook as he handled communications. Denver Tower, this is Flight 227, we've got a medical emergency, requesting priority landing. Emily kept her tone even, steady, for both him and herself. We're configured. Flaps set. Approach looks good. Stay with me, we've got this. As the plane descended, every muscle in her body trembled, but she didn't let go. She guided the massive jet like she had guided countless others in her past life, every motion deliberate, every decision precise. The ground rushed closer. The cabin held its breath. Steady, steady, she whispered. The wheels kissed the runway with a jolt, but the plane held. Brakes screeched, engines roared in reverse thrust, and finally, mercifully, the jet slowed to a stop. The cockpit erupted in silence. Then the co-pilot let out a choked laugh of relief. We made it. Emily sat back, tears burning her eyes. She had done it. After all the guilt, all the fear, she had flown again. Not for glory, not for herself, but for 200 souls who would walk off this plane alive. The aftermath. Paramedics rushed aboard, tending to the captain. Passengers slowly filed out, many unaware of how close they had come to disaster. But word spread quickly about the woman in row 12 who had stepped forward when no one else could. As Emily stood by the terminal window, watching the plane she had just saved, an elderly woman approached her. She had been sitting just a few rows back with her granddaughter. With trembling hands, she clasped Emily's. You don't know us, the woman said softly, tears in her eyes, but because of you, I get to take her home tonight. You saved her future. You saved all of us. Emily's throat tightened. She wanted to explain that she hadn't been brave, that she had been terrified, that she still carried scars no one could see. But instead, she just nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. For the first time in 2 years, she felt something shift inside her. The guilt didn't vanish, but it loosened its grip. She realized her story wasn't over, not yet. The message. That night, Emily didn't think of herself as a broken pilot or a failure. She thought of herself as someone who, in a moment of crisis, chose courage over fear. And as she boarded her next flight weeks later, not as a passenger, but as a trainee returning to the skies, she carried with her the lesson she had nearly lost. That sometimes, the greatest redemption comes not when we run from our past, but when we rise in spite of it. Because on that night, somewhere high above the earth, she remembered who she truly was. Not just a survivor, not just a passenger in row 12, but a pilot, always a pilot.